joining us now to analyze the coverage from Nashville. Clay Travis, the founder of Outkick, co-host of a nationally syndicated radio show, and author of American Playbook, a guide for winning back the country from the Democrats. And in Los Angeles, Leslie Marshall, the radio host and Fox News contributor, claim most media conservatives are ripping Merrick Garland for making U.S. Attorney David Weiss a special counsel, even though this thing is now probably headed to trial. Hunter could see some jail time, and with all special counsels, it's probably going to drag on for months as they look at new avenues, and that will coincide with President Biden's reelection campaign.
Yeah, look, I think the challenge here is doing a special counsel was the right decision, 100% the right decision. The problem is we saw the sweetheart deal. We saw the rig job that they tried to ram through as it pertains to the plea agreement. And so if Judge Noriega in Delaware had not asked the most basic questions, including whether not only was this dealing with the tax fraud issues as well as the gun charges, but also FARA for failure to register as a foreign agent potentially going forward. And she saw and uncovered that there was, in fact, an attempt to basically sweep everything Hunter Biden had done under the rug for no consequential punishment. And so if this U.S. Attorney Weiss would agree to this deal, I think there's a concern that the rig job still may be in effect, even though the special counsel was the right move and we should have had it years ago.
Leslie, let me read to you my favorite sentence from the New York Times coverage, and then we'll get to a question. Says that the Hunter allegations may even break out of the conservative echo chamber to the general public, which has largely not paid much attention until now, because the mainstream media have largely not covered it until now. But on this question of David Weiss, Trump appointee, Republicans have said for months they want a special counsel. Clay said he wanted a special counsel. Does the negative reaction suggest to you that no matter what Merrick Garland did, there would be a lot of criticism?
Ding, ding, ding. You win the new car, Howie. Yes, absolutely. I mean, Marsha Blackburn actually put it in writing that she wanted this special counsel, and she's one of the first conservatives out of the box complaining about a special counsel. And by the way, appointment of a special counsel does not necessarily lead to jail time, whether it's Hunter Biden or anyone else, a Republican or a Democrat, president's family member. Look, you know, here's the problem. It's not that it wasn't covered, because when I knew we were going to talk about this, I went back and I looked at every single network. You know, all the major networks have covered this. And when we look at the cable networks, such as MSNBC, which my largely liberal audience have been complaining about how much coverage they've had on MSNBC. And on CNN, there have been repeated interviews, whether it's of James Comer or other, people involved in this and very heavily outspoken, on Jake Tapper, on Caitlin Collins, repeatedly asking about this. I think what it comes down to, Howie, is the coverage. It's not like, oh, we hate Donald Trump more and we're covering him more. Honestly, when you look at it and you look back, Donald Trump has across the board gotten more ratings for people than Hunter Biden. One, it is a business. And two, when you look at it, the voters don't care left or right about Hunter Biden. They care about the top issues. And this is not a kitchen table voter issue across the board, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, an independent, or haven't decided to claim.
Well, I'm sure Clay might take issue with that. But, you know, I'm not saying there hasn't been any coverage at all. But the comparison with what happened on Friday, and now I think it's going to be possible to ignore. Why do you think, Clay, that the mainstream media, let's just say, went pretty lightly on these allegations against Hunter Biden?
I think because they initially covered the 51 intelligence agents who tried to claim that there was absolutely no truth to the Hunter Biden laptop in the first place. Remember, they said that it had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. Which allowed Joe Biden to be able to break out in the debate the idea that there was absolutely no suggestion that his son was involved in any way in improper behavior and that the laptop wasn't real. Remember, this is a function, I think, while there has been some bare minimum of coverage, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, as well as the Washington Post and the New York Times, over half, according to a recent poll, of Democrat voters still believe that lie that the Hunter Biden laptop was in fact Russian disinformation. So I think what happened here is the media bought the lie. They didn't cover it. They argued that the New York Post expose was trumped up and not reality. And then they went ahead and they covered it up on Twitter and they covered it up on Facebook. And the FBI refused to acknowledge the truth, which was this laptop was real, and they knew it was real. And so all of that now, there's an embarrassment with all of the connections that actually exist between Hunter Biden and all of these foreign entities that were paying him, as well as, I believe, Joe Biden, because the new argument now is, oh, Joe Biden himself had nothing to do with it. Maybe we can get into that. There's a lot of evidence that Joe Biden was very involved in Hunter Biden's business deal.
Let's get into that in a moment, but Leslie, do you think there would have been the same level of coverage on MSNBC, for example, if this was a Republican president and his family talking about shell companies, millions of dollars? I have a hard time believing that.
Well, any network is going to do what's best for their bottom line because they're a business, and their bottom line is dictated by ratings. That's how they get the advertising dollars, right? So any network is going to put out the story that is going to appeal to their base, to their viewers, the most. So certainly, do I think there would be, more coverage on an MSNBC if this were Donald Trump and one of his kids? Probably. But like I said, I'm a liberal Democrat, and the people on my side of the aisle that watch MSNBC have been complaining that MSNBC has been covering it, ad nauseum. And a couple more points here, Howie. One, even our own Steve Doocy, you just played Peter Doocy. Well, his dad said on our network, and I quote, "They have not shown that Joe Biden profited personally or that he had broken any rules. What law did he break?" And I think this is a question that a lot of voters, even some Republican voters, ask, because they say, look, Hunter Biden's not running for office. Hunter Biden's the son of somebody who is in office and running for office. And it's clear, especially on my side of the aisle, that they're trying to use Hunter Biden to take down Joe Biden to have an excuse to impeach, because Republicans have been promising, Kevin McCarthy, in a sense, has to deliver an impeachment, doesn't he? That if you put us in power, if we have control of the House, we're going to impeach.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's any question, even people on the liberal side, that Hunter Biden engaged in a lot of sleazy buck-raking. He himself admitted in an email that the Chinese businessman was interested in his last name. So he knew what was going on, and he knew what was going on, Clay, when he, arranged all those speakerphone calls. And when you have Devin Archer, the former friend and business partner, testifying that VP Biden got on 20 speakerphone calls with Hunter and his associates. He didn't talk business. He talked about the weather. But the fact that you could get the Vice President of the United States on the phone repeatedly is the way Washington works, is an indication that you have clout.
Oh, well, look, I've run a lot of businesses. I sold one to Fox 2 years ago. Do you know how many times my dad has been on a business call?
How many?
In my entire career? Zero. And I bet almost everybody out there, unless they're in business with their dad has not been on the phone to talk to their business partners 20 times. And I think this is important, because the new argument is, oh, well, Hunter may have been sleazy, as you said. Hunter may have been a criminal, but his dad wasn't connected at all. I jotted down, there are actually a ton of credible allegations that Joe Biden was very involved. I actually think what happened, this is my theory, is when Joe Biden got passed over for Hillary Clinton, I think he knew that his political career, believed that his political career was over, and basically said, let's turn on the money spigot. It's time for me to really cash in on my career, because I'm probably not going to have a career going forward politically. Let's start making money. Look, Tony Bobulinski, 10% for the big guy. The text message, the WhatsApp message from Hunter Biden threatening his Chinese business partners that if he didn't get paid immediately, there would be hell to pay, while saying he was sitting next to his dad. The 20 calls, as you mentioned.
I'm a little sure
the Burisma prosecutor being fired. The Russian oligarch paid $3.5 million, left off any list of impropriety there. There is tons of evidence that the Biden Department of Justice has covered up. Look at the testimony under oath of the two IRS agents. All of that is very credible, far more credible than anything about Russia collusion or anything about the Steele dossier, which the media covered like crazy.
Got to get a break here, but I just want to make the point. I'm glad you said yours was a theory that there's no evidence, despite some claims, that money actually went to Joe Biden. If there is, I think his campaign is over.
No, wait, hold on. The evidence is there. It's not corroborated. I just laid out the evidence, and it's pretty credible.
Well, I'll be happy to spend the whole show on it when it's corroborated. When President Kennedy was in office, his tenure was described as a time of Camelot. Jackie Kennedy was the one who started that. But now the family is in turmoil over the Democratic candidacy of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Some say they don't agree with Bobby, but didn't want to publicly criticize him. JFK's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, says his candidacy is a vanity project. Clay, whatever you think of the Kennedys, to watch somebody like that denounce RFK Jr. is kind of sad.
It is, and I actually give credit to RFK Jr. We've had him on the radio show. I think he believes wholeheartedly in the ideas that he's out advocating for. And I think there's a substantial percentage of both Democrat, Republican, and independent voters that do buy in to what he is selling. He's been as high as 20%, I think, in the Democrat primary. I even think, and this may be a little bit crazy, I don't know what you guys think, it wouldn't stun me if Trump considered RFK Jr. as a running mate. I really do mean that. I think the anti-establishment vibe of RFK Jr. and Trump in 16 definitely dovetails, and that doesn't seem like a crazy idea to me.
Well, he's got a lot of
Republican
fans. Leslie, he's privately complained to his relatives, but told CNN, "I bear them no ill will. Families can disagree and still love each other."
Well, that's true. I mean, I have people in my family that are, Democrat married to a Republican. They certainly disagree, although my cousin did make her husband sleep on the couch when he voted for Trump. Look, when you have, I'm from Massachusetts, and without saying how, my family knows the Kennedys. I went to the compound when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the Kennedy family is a very close family. They're a very protective family. And they're a very protective family not only of its members, but of its name. And one of the problems is not what RFK Jr. is saying about vaccines to start. It was the anti-Semitic rhetoric that came out. That was hurtful to that young man, JFK's grandson, whose father is Jewish. He and his sister, his mother, although not still married to their dad, married a Jewish man. And this is a stain on the name. Things that are coming out of his mouth are the stain on the name. Right. Also, they're largely very strong supporters of the Democrats, the Democratic Party, and our Democratic president.
All right. Well, I knew JFK Jr. I interviewed Ted Kennedy when he had his losing bid for president. But this isn't about being a bad candidate. Lots of bad candidates out there. It's about saying vaccines cause autism, Wi-Fi causes cancer, antidepressants cause mass shootings. You seem to kind of like RFK Jr., Clay, but a lot of scientists say he is spreading things that are not true. Huh? Okay.
Leslie said he was a stain on the Kennedy name. I mean, Teddy Kennedy killed a woman and managed to continue to serve in the Senate for decades at Chappaquiddick. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, you might disagree with RFK Jr.'s opinions on anything under the sun, as you just laid out, and that's fine. That's how the marketplace of ideas work.
Right.
But so far as I'm aware, he hasn't killed anyone. So if you're going to talk about somebody being a stain on the Kennedy name, I think you'd probably have to start with Teddy Kennedy. And I haven't heard anybody come out publicly and say, oh, the innocent girl that my uncle killed deserved better. Yet they're upset because RFK Jr. is saying things they don't like while running for president. Give me a break. This is a joke.
Leslie, I know that RFK, because he said it, feels like he doesn't get a fair shake from the media. But, here you have some of the people closest to him, and there have been others, too, saying he's an embarrassment. So, as you were saying, I mean, the Kennedys were like one of the royal families of politics, and it's not like Teddy was the only one who did bad or questionable stuff, but it's all kind of, the dirty laundry is kind of playing out in public.
Yeah, and they don't like that. And also, if you hear some of the family members, they speak to, what is the motivation, okay? Let's be honest, I'm not a betting person. I'll go to Vegas and, I'll bet my house that RFK is not going to be the Democratic nominee. I'll bet my kids RFK is not going to be. I mean, it's not going to happen. So, and he's not running for vice president. I say that because you could say on the Republican side, well, there are people that have single digits that are not going to be the nominee, but they have a chance of being on the ticket. RFK is not going to be on the ticket. What is he doing? And a lot of people would say he's doing what Ralph Nader did, which is bringing attention to themselves, bringing attention to their opinions and their belief, bringing attention to their causes, and things that may benefit them financially with causes that they're aligned with.
Which is not illegal. All right, Leslie, Marshall, Clay Travis, great discussion today. Thank you for joining us.